every city in Sabi Tapi the hobby, so baby get in the ride. Bitch, you bad as fuck. Swipe the visa. Just watch.
Hi everybody, it's Ebony JB and I'm back with another review. In this review today, we are going to be discussing that AMINÉ album. AMINÉ came out on the 7th of August with that Limbo album, and I'm just going to say at the start of this video right now, this isn't my top 10 favorite albums of this year. Don't mind me, this is water. Don't ask me why I'm drinking water in a wine glass. But it's like flavored water though. It's like flavored water, but it's like sparkling flavored water. I don't know why I'm drinking sparkling flavored water in a glass, but I saw the glass and I thought, ooh, I don't usually drink in this. AMINÉ's new Limbo album was fantastic to me, and in this review we're just going to go through it from beginning to end, discuss it. It was just mainly discuss. There's not a reaction because I've heard it, so we're just going to discuss my favorite tracks, what I loved, what I realized, what I analyzed, all these things. Before we get into this video though, if you are new here or if you are subscribed to my channel, I have recently come up with a concept called JB's Radar, which is aimed for creatives to send their content to me and they might be included in an episode of JB's Radar if I pick them. And if I pick them and they're willing to pay the small fee, then their music, their artistry will be discussed, will be appreciated, will be talked about in that episode. I'll really just comment on their artistry, be it a beat, be it a song, be it a dance, be it graphic design, whatever it is. It's a chance for these creatives to have their talent showcased and have their talents talked about. So if you are creative and you want your stuff talked about, send your content, send your work, send your craft to that email down below, and you might get picked to be in my first episode of JB's Radar. The first song of AMINÉ's album is Burden, and I feel like Burden was a very good intro to the album. I liked how it was distorted. I liked how it was manipulated, that it had that kind of soul's blues vibe, but that sound was manipulated and it had that kind of sample like coming in at certain points and coming out, and it was very nice. So I really did like the production. The production was great. I've got notes written here of this album, so this is why I'm looking down in case people are wondering. I really like the hook. I like the hook, and I like one particular line in the hook. Probably one of my favorite lines of this album is "Bury me till niggas is certain." I really like that line there because again it kind of adds to that limbo of the album, a theme that we get throughout, because it's like, don't bury me till you know that I'm dead. Don't try and put me under the bus till you know that, you know, like I'm a fool. I really like that line because it's like, if you take that into the music world, you know, a lot of artists are buried, and many would say or argue that their time comes up before it was, you know, their time. Like the industry lets go of them, or people stop listening to them or stop messing with them before they probably have shown you their best. It happens. Many artists don't quite get to show their best. They just have this hit and everyone then kind of just forgets, and when they try to continue and come back, is just like, no. AMINÉ at the start of this album was just trying to consolidate that idea of like, there's no falling off here. He's not falling off. He's very much alive, very much here, very much living in this moment and giving good quality stuff. So none of these haters, none of these people that want to try and push him to the side, brush him to the side, or sweep him under the rug, they better not do that until they are certain.
Before I'm a birdie, don't bury me till niggas is certain. When you're
going on to WOODLAWN now. WOODLAWN is a perfect hype track. It's powerful, it has a slapping bass as well. So it's kind of like a simplistic beat. One kind of like standout thing about that production was the kind of flute in the background, but overall it's quite a basic simplistic beat, just a very good slapping bass. I can imagine it being a very good club banger. It just gets the energy going. AMINÉ's flow over that track was effortless. I really just like how he was flowing. Every bar, every line, and the way he put it together and the way he rapped over the melody and the beat made sense. Very comprehensive in the way that he put this track together. So even though it is that kind of hype track, it is still, you can still tell there's a lot of thought that's been put into it. It's not just been thrown together. Like how even though it was like a little bit lighthearted and a little bit more focusing on energy, we did get a reference to Kobe there. Kobe, rest in peace, him and his daughter. It's still a tragic incident that I still cannot begin to, I still can't comprehend that happened this year. AMINÉ expresses, you know, how that loss affected him. Maybe that incident of Kobe propelled him to put a lot of his heart and soul into this album, because I do sense that he put a lot into this album and there was a lot of growth in this album. Maybe that incident contributed to the makings of this album here.
Put up on his necks for the throne. You ain't really on. Tell all your niggas on. I tell him keep his head up and he set up when he home. Nigga R.I.P. Kobe. You was like a dad to a nigga, so I'm sad. My nigga had to get you tatted on me. In every city in Sabi Tabi the hobby, so baby get in the ride. Bitch, you bad as fuck. Swipe the visa.
Yeah, then we go on to Kobe, which is a kind of like interlude. Again, it follows through from Woodlawn very nicely, simply because he did reference Kobe's passing in Woodlawn and how it affected him, and now he's gone on to an interlude where he's literally discussing it, saying, wow, this really changed me, this really woke me up, this really slapped me in the face. So yeah, that was a very well-fitting interlude, not only because it followed after Woodlawn, which kind of introduced that topic already, but also because it just, I don't know, it talked about growth and AMINÉ's like journey, and you get a lot of that in Limbo, in the album, like in the songs you get a lot of that. So it was a very fitting kind of interlude. I like that there. Roots production was bliss. I absolutely loved Roots. Roots was just a beautiful, really vibey, airy track. It was really representing Limbo, the production, because it was like, you felt like you were in some mystical land, like you felt like you were floating through the stratosphere or the atmosphere, like you felt like you was really in the clouds. And then the serenity to the track and the kind of echoey effects of all of it that was happening allowed for some really reflective and cool and calm and collected flows that we got from JID as well as AMINÉ. It's a thing where this song, Roots, there's so much to discuss about this song. The chorus really echoes the nature of growth, because within the chorus we've got a lot of floral imagery of like how flowers grow. You know, it's talking about the sun, the rain, the seeds, inevitably the roots, the idea that, you know, he needs all these things. Those are the basic bare bone things needed for a flower or any plant to grow: sun, water, you know, of course the seed. Like, so he's kind of referring to himself with this floral imagery, talking about his growth and all that stuff in the chorus. I find that chorus so beautiful. I absolutely love it. And then that theme and idea is maintained throughout the verses. JID plays on it a little bit when he's talking about Mr. Root. There was an ad-lib there. He was going Mr. Root. That is his real name. And then it's also linking to like his identity, who he is. And of course, that's linking to roots. So it's just like, it was beautiful. The feature here from JID and what he did with it, as well as AMINÉ and what he was doing. And the chorus, I absolutely love Roots. It's probably one of my favorite tracks of this album. Definitely top 5 track of this album. It's a perfect kind of song that represents the limbo idea of this album. Because a lot of people think that when you're in limbo, when you're in that kind of trance kind of state, you're lost. But what if you're actually not lost? What if you're just finding yourself? Like, finding your way and being lost is different. And within limbo, if you're finding your way, you can do that beautifully. You can do that with understanding. You can do that with still knowing where you came from, your roots, and so on and so forth. So this production, the lyrics, everything, I think went very well with the whole limbo theme of the album.
Devil on my shoulder, marijuana from Boulder. You know my niggas in this motherfucker, I be the shit. Never been nowhere, but these niggas, they love this. Eritrea, Ethiopia.
And even more when he goes to express like countries in the homeland, Eritrea, Ethiopia, him being, I think, Ethiopian, him expressing again roots, going back to countries from the homeland, talking about those countries there. It was just such a beautiful, well composed song.
It's raining on me.
Then we go on to Can't Decide, which is a bit of a change from what we've had so far. We've had vibey trance-like, limbo-like tracks. And we're going to Can't Decide, which has like Latin influenced production. I really like the T- production here. Latin influence, but it's very subtle. You just hear those strings a little bit, but you can of course still recognize it. I like the production so much, and it's just a song about his indecisiveness when it comes to connections and relationships, and it's great, and I like it, and it's simple and short, and it's sweet, and it fits well. Get into a bit of the summery part of the album, a bit of the feel good, loose part of the album. Not that there was any less like effort put into this part of the album, just that it was a little bit more fun. Yeah. If it's you or I, baby, you save me. Baby, time. Go by your past and your nigga, in fact. I put your ex in the garbage and put a bitch on the map. I'm singing. If it's you or I, baby, you save me. We're going on to compensating. I like the refrain of compensating a lot. I just like that build up to the chorus. It was beautiful. I like Young Thug's feature here it was so fitting to the song. I love the punchlines Young Thug gave. It was just a very solid feature, fit the vibe. It was a track that I could definitely hear him on when I first heard it. Yeah, just again thinking it's the summary part of the album, the feel good part of the album. Still discussing like relationships and things. That theme is still there. They come and go like spirits. Yeah. I see the signs, the clearest. And you know I fry, and your ex-man, that's my little guy. I know some niggas that'll kick him to the coastline. I'm on in my bed, and you know I'ma always wish you the best. Look, bitch, roll inside the bed. Fucked up one. We go into Shimmy, one of the singles of this album. Shimmy for me was not my favorite single of this album. I did like it though. Shimmy, I just liked very much the sample, the references to one of those hits, Shimmy Shimmy Ya. It's kind of a gutterish rap song, which I really like to see from AMINÉ. When it came out as a single, I like that we're seeing him like rapping here over a quite eerie, gutterish beat. I like that. One of my favorite lines from this album is the Fergie line. It's quite a humorous line. So I like Shimmy, but it wasn't my favorite single. But still, it doesn't mean that it wasn't a song that I didn't enjoy. It's still a song I enjoyed a lot, especially production wise. Yeah, my nigga. Yeah. Let's not front. It's my year, my nigga. Yeah. I'm here to fuck up your whole career, my nigga. You made a handle, but you just saying you a Fergie. Too many niggas fighting, I might need me 10 attorneys. Then we go to Pressure in My Palms. We've got that Slow Thigh feature, which for me was such a big surprise. Slow Thigh is a British artist, and it was so refreshing yet surprising to hear that him on this track. He's very talented in the UK, and he's a very talented guy in the UK. He's still like kind of on the come up. I wouldn't say he's quite like big yet, but people definitely know his name. So it was really impressive to hear him and see him on this AMINÉ track. His part was very short though, and it quickly went on to Vince Staples' bit, and I really liked Vince Staples' feature here. In terms of this track, of course there's two parts of it. Just the first part of it is like the club banger part. It's focusing more on energy and so on and so forth, and then the second part of it is more vibey. I like the first part for what it is, like the energy and so on and so forth, but I very much like the second part because it delves deeper into that idea of pressure in my palms, because we've got AMINÉ really expressing, you know, what he's facing, what he's tackling, where the pressure is coming from. You know, we got a bit more personal in the second half, matching that change in production, because that change in production feels a bit more elegant. So it's like you would expect it to get a bit more, the bars to get a little bit more complicated or get a bit more deep, which they did. If you was to like literally just describe those two parts, one of them is a club banger where you're listening to it with your friends in the party, and the second part of it is when you're listening to it on your own. You're vibing and reflecting and listening to something in the back of your room alone, or in your car on a late night drive. That's how I would describe the two different scenes.
Boy, I got that pressure within the mind, pressure within the mind, pressure within the mind, pressure in the mind. Baby says she need commitment. I guess I think about it. I never leave without it. Oh shit! The smoke in your face. You niggas think you running shit, but running in place. I'm taking the base, yeah, I'm taking it home. The same way that Ye did Taylor, or how they did Janet. You wouldn't understand it. Hola, 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 yeah, nigga feel Spanish.
I really like how AMINÉ, I just like AMINÉ's rapping tone. I very much appreciate it. And in Pressure in My Palms, the second half of it, I appreciate it a lot there. Especially the hola, 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 man, it feels Spanish. Quite playful in the way that he flows, but it's still got a rawness to it, which I very much appreciate, because it's like he's having fun but he's being serious at the same time. We just got AMINÉ just, you know, talking about your pressure is just gonna make me get better at what I'm doing. That's kind of what I got, the sense I kind of got from the second half of it. Felt a bit more personal because he's just discussing like what he has to deal with.
Come on, homie, we made her. Come on, homie, we made her.
I love the creativity of the track. I love when it goes, pressure in my palms. That's definitely one of my favorite tracks, just for the second half.
You love Rihanna, but you ain't a savage. I was calling your mama and you was calling my accountant. Shot it too fine, but I bet she the bullet in roulette. I'm looking so clean. I broke my heart 3 times.
Like RIRI. RIRI was my favorite single of this album, simply because I like the creativity of the track a lot. I did. Again, it's just AMINÉ's playfulness is always, when he puts it into a track, it always makes such a great solid track. So again, that's why I really like RIRI, is him being playful here, and it just creates a good track. I can't even explain why I like RIRI so much, I just do. Then we get to Easy. Now, I like the string bass of Easy. I like the kind of dialogue exchange between Summer and AMINÉ, and how they kind of share dialogue at some points and then respond to each other in some points. I like that. I feel like that was very creative. And I feel like there's a bit of like, I don't know if anyone else heard it, but I heard a bit of like Genuine's Pony, the doom doom doom. I kind of heard that kind of bass in the background of this song, which was fitting because this song is a romantic song but also a sexual song. So that bass kind of gave me nostalgia to like Pony, which is a sexual song. I don't know, it worked. I don't know whether anyone else kind of heard that, but I did. It was played upon, it wasn't quite clear, and it wasn't exactly the same, but it was reminiscent to that song. But besides that, Easy for me was my least favorite track, if I'm being completely honest. It was my least favorite track. I don't know why. It was just, I just didn't like, it didn't click with me as well as other tracks did. Then we get to the track, the Mama track, and the Mama track for me was a beautiful track. It probably was one of my favorites, again, one of my top 5. I love the keys that are in the background, but they kind of sound a bit synth-like. And I love how this is an ode to his mum. Again, in rap, we do have a lot of rappers, you know, do odes to their mothers. And, you know, it's, of course, like one of the most famous ones being Tupac's Dear Mama. Again, that's a track that when I saw Mama and I was hearing it, I was like, this is an ode to his mum, like Dear Mama. And then later on, he referenced, like, you know, Dear Mama by Tupac. So it was like, yeah, this is definitely, it's a popular thing in rap. It happens a lot, especially in when it's people of color rappers, because a lot of the time some of them only have grown with their mother and they don't know their fathers or have not had the strongest relationships with their fathers. So there's always quite a lot of an ode to the mother and how they love and appreciate their mother for being there for them even when they weren't making the wisest of choices. That's again kind of what's being expressed here by AMINÉ. He wasn't making the wisest of choices, but he loves his mum because she loved him unconditionally even throughout all the mistakes that he made. You know, now he's doing it for her. I love the musicality of it in terms of production wise, and I like the hook. I liked everything in it. And I also like how we got that little Jay-Z reference later on, letting the song cry. Again, it's the idea that, you know, maybe he's not this expressive in real life. Maybe he doesn't cry about this in real life or talk about this in real life, but he's gonna let the song do that for him. He's gonna let the song show his tears in a sense and show his love and appreciation for his mother.
Mama, I said, Mama, I do this shit for my mama. Can't lie to my mama. I'ma take you to the Grammys in a yellow suit. Put you in Chanel just to show them how my mama do. My #1 fan, I'm your #1 man.
This run that's about to come up here, the Mama Becky FETUS My Reality, this is like my favorite run. Usually I quite like runs at the start of an album. Usually an artist has a very strong run at the start, but AMINÉ's run was very strong at the end. That Mama Becky FETUS My Reality, oh, it was like, what? Every track that came, I was like, this is beautiful. Moving on to Becky now, where he's talking about one of his, like, he went from talking about the most important woman in his life to a woman where he was having a very sticky situation with because it was an interracial relationship. We've got him to talking about how that relationship with that white woman, him being a black man, was hard. you know, how there was not any kind of rules to this, but there was rules to it, and there was unwritten lines and guidelines about such relationships, even though people don't want to believe that. People want to think that it's just, you know, just love. And when it comes to older generation and introducing your relationship with a person that's of a different ethnicity to you, another race to you, to your parents, that's when those kind of unspoken words and, you know, guidelines come in, because it's like their generation that thinks differently, and so it can get difficult. And that's what he expressed in Becky. You know, one of the first lines being, you know, I told my mama told me never to bring a white girl back home. I kind of liked, though, the change from mama to Becky, because it's like one quite earnest ode of love and appreciation, and then we're going to Becky expressing the difficulties of a relationship. You just went from appreciating one relationship with one of the most important women in your life to expressing the difficulty of one relationship to another important woman in your life. I liked the intro to Becky. I felt like it was insane. Singing was beautiful. I liked how it was high pitched, and I like how he's singing for the majority of the song, and then the hook is a rap. I just like how he flipped it on his head for Becky. That was great. Definitely one of my favorite tracks because of just the complexity, the complex situation that he was trying to describe, and he described it so, like, simply.
Mama said, don't ever bring a white girl home to me. She's blind and doesn't understand the feeling. So I've had fed up with the looks that we get in restaurants. You know it's not a law, but you know we ain't the same.
Yeah.
I'm fed up with the world that I know I can't.
Go to Fetus with Injury Reserve, and this was really not even surprising. It was just a really disheartening feature to see, knowing that Groggs has passed. May his soul rest in peace. Their feature here was my favorite feature of the album. Injury Reserve's flow, their storytelling, the way they work together so well, it really shined in this track. The message of this track, I really like it. I love how it's a track just expressing life and all its journeys and all its woes, and the importance of parenthood and childhood. How important it is to bring a child into this world with all its problems and issues, and how important it is to raise them so that they can grow to be able to live in this world independently with all its problems and issues. It's a very just deep track in the way it just discusses these things and these thoughts that one in a relationship with someone would have when they're thinking of having children.
I'm protective cause this world has got an evil will. They giving guns with every motherfucking Happy Meal. A suit aim before the tender came. Back when T.I. bring them out and 50 fuck with game. We was a future daughter, a son. The streams from this album gon' pay for your college funds.
Turn 6, pray nothing like your daddy. Stay away from drugs. Hope I can be half the father that my mama was.
Then we're finishing
My reality.
with My Reality. Love the sample here of My Reality. The production is bloody beautiful. It's like such a wholesome ending to the album, because he's now expressing like everything he's dreamed of is real now. The sample does that for him. When he raps and he expresses himself, he's expressing again how his dreams has become his reality. The idea that, you know, he's up now. It's a track literally talking about how the unachievable was achieved, because it's a good ending to an album. When you talk about, when you go on a journey in an album and then you end with how you never thought you'd be here, of course that's wholesome. It's like you're looking back and you're thinking, wow, that's the start, I'm at this finish now. I never thought I'd get to this finish, and you're literally finishing the album, so it just makes sense to end the album that way. So My Reality was beautiful, and it definitely gave, again, the sample added to that kind of limbo theme.
Used to need a handout, now I need no hope. Niggas that I used to look up to is getting shook up too. And nigga, you don't know, I went from skipping class to making a classic.
He said, I went to skipping class to making a classic. And I have a question to pose for people. Is Limbo a classic? Like, this is his sophomore-ish album. You know, he made 1.5, which is like an album EP, which definitely in his title suggested to the fact that this was only halfway to the real thing. So this is kind of like a sophomore album, and it gives me the feels of a sophomore album, because sophomore albums tend to have like that kind of feeling of growth in them, and I get that so much. Like, this is AMINÉ's Nothing Was the Same. So I very much see this as a sophomore album. I see it as an album really showing his growth as an artist. Could it be a classic? Could it be AMINÉ's classic within his discography? Will there be a body of work more comprehensive, more wholesome than this that he releases? Limbo was him figuring himself out whilst he was in limbo. And when you're in limbo, again, I was talking about how people in limbo, you think they're lost, but no, they're just finding their way. They're not necessarily lost. He discussed race, he discussed relationships, he discussed interracial relationships, he discussed love, he discussed being hated on and people not accepting him and seeing him as being up now. He discussed being up now. He discussed so many things. He discussed Kobe, the influence of other greats on him. He discussed a lot of things in this album. 14-track album. I feel like 14 is such the sweet spot when it comes to album lengths. It's literally the sweet spot. It was the perfect length. You literally just see him going through the motions in Limbo. It's such a beautifully made album, perfectly named. I would rate this album an 8.5. It was really good for me. 8.5 is what I would rate this album. I really cannot wait to see what else AMINÉ has to bring to the table. Considering the fact that this album, every song I added to the playlist apart from the Summer Walker track, it just goes to show how wholesome, how comprehensive this album was, because everything is in my playlist. I felt like this album definitely took me on a journey. By the end of the album, I felt like I had grown with AMINÉ. I also felt like there were so many boom tracks. Again, I added almost every song to the playlist apart from one. And I felt like there was so much creative sense in this album. The sampling, everything made sense. That is my review to Limbo by AMINÉ. I hope you did enjoy. If you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button down below and leave a comment down below of your thoughts. I'll see you guys all.